Good morning. Thanks for joining the 3 Ways to Win with Automation webinar with Webgility. My name is Lauren Cousin. I'm a demand gen marketer on the Webgility team. Today we're going to run through a couple slides. We'll have our guest speaker, Parag Mamnani, help you with automating your back office and making e-commerce a little bit easier. So to kick things off, we'll run through today's agenda. We are going to record the entire broadcast. We'll have slides and the recording available for you after the webinar. We'll email those out within 24 hours. If you're on social and want to get our attention and engage, we'll be using the hashtag Unify. So you can just jump on Twitter or Facebook and tweet at us. We'll be checking that out throughout the webinar. We also want to know what you think. We want to make sure we're covering all the bases and meeting your expectations for content. You can send us an email at webinars@webgility.com and we'll respond to you. Just let us know if you'd like to see something different or you'd like to see a different format for our webinars going forward. So next up, we're going to introduce our speaker and e-commerce automation expert, Parag Mamnani. He is the founder and CEO of Webgility, which has been around since 2007. Parag used to run Amazon's WebStar platform, so has a ton of experience with e-commerce and e-commerce sellers, and has a really great history in the industry. He actually previously helped sellers launch multi-channel e-commerce businesses. He's been doing that for about 15 years now. He's helped a ton of businesses with back office automation and just generally making e-commerce easier, simplifying workflows, and just getting everyone up to speed on current trends in the industry. So we're going to kick things off with a poll because we want to hear from you. So what is the biggest challenge to growing your e-commerce business? I'll open this poll for about 30 seconds. We'll close it and see the results. So we'll kick this off now. Okay, so we're getting some answers come through. Give it about another 10 seconds and then we'll close it out. Oh, interesting. Getting some splits. Okay, I'm about to close this and we'll see what everyone said. Okay, so it looks like the majority of you are struggling with accounting and bookkeeping as well as analytics and reporting, and I'm going to assume that extends to business intelligence. So we will move straight into our slide deck, and I'll introduce Parag first, and then we'll jump into the slides.
Great, thank you so much, Lauren. It's so exciting to be here. This poll result is absolutely fantastic to see because it speaks to exactly the topics that we're going to be talking about today in our presentation. So clearly from everyone's feedback, what's on top of your mind is financial data, accounting, bookkeeping, and getting all of your analytics and reporting right. Of course, can't forget inventory, shipping, and fulfillment. So diving right into today's presentation, we're going to be talking about 3 key ways in which you can win with automation. And really for an e-commerce seller, where this all begins is once they start receiving an order. So I've worked now with thousands of companies, and most often we find that you start your business thinking, it's going to be easy, we're going to start selling and it's going to be great. And as soon as you hit any kind of scale, you run into what I call just order processing chaos. And a great example of that is actually Rider Shack. They're a surf and skate gear shop based out of here in California. And they worked with us a few years ago, and just to give you a sense of their business, they started off entering, kind of running a local retail location and decided they were going to sell online. Everything was running great on their QuickBooks point of sale system. So that's kind of what their e-commerce sort of technology stack was. Everything was running off of QuickBooks point of sale. So things were kind of working well and integrated. At that point, when they decided to start selling online, you now saw them add a new channel. They launched their online store on a Magento platform. And immediately what they found is now that they had a couple of channels, they were having difficulty tracking their inventory. And with over 13,000 products in their catalog, having multiple systems and being able to process orders. So imagine the workflow for that business is they start with their online orders coming in. They've got orders also happening locally in their QuickBooks point of sale. It becomes easily overwhelming and you get into order processing chaos. With that chaos, it becomes really hard to track your shipments. You do then processing, and now you've got to talk to your vendors when items are out of stock. And the end result is you get to overselling and unhappy customers, which for any e-commerce business is just a complete no-no. And so the way that the businesses can solve for that is what I think of as win number one. It feels fairly straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many businesses don't automate their full operational workflows. So the key is to bring it all together. So how do you do that? So the way I prescribe to our customers and to a lot of the merchants I speak with every day, you want to first and foremost start with your order processing workflow. And what helps me the most, and something I've seen a lot of sellers adopt, is to create a simple flow chart. Map out your workflow so that you know what happens the moment you get an item in stock and you now need to list it for sales online. As soon as that item is listed, you're going to start to get orders for it. And it's really important that you understand the order being placed. What are the systems and the people that this order now touches? So you know exactly where the bottlenecks might be. And it's really important to get everyone aligned. Now, as you think about your order processing workflow, you've got to then figure out, how do I make sure that as soon as an order is placed, that the inventory that was actually listed on my website is accurate? So the inventory accuracy is key because it's going to really hurt your reviews if you oversell. So once you map out your workflow, it's important to know when an order is fulfilled, how do you actually keep that stock level updated, especially if you've got a retail location and an online store. So always keep your inventory updated. And last but not least, what I see is kind of the most underappreciated aspect of your e-commerce operation is your shipping. This is typically a very people and human sort of intensive process where you've got folks in your warehouse or in your back office picking, packing, loading your items and putting them into boxes. It's really important that you automate that element of your operations. And frankly, even if you have a shipping software in place, you've got to understand what are the different rules that your shipping software can now rinse and repeat for you, so that even with the software in place, you don't have to kind of manually figure out which orders needs to be shipped with which processor. And you can start to create these rules, print in batches, and don't forget, include your packing slips, because what that's going to do is it's going to reinforce to both your buyers that you're confirming the items that are inside the package. And again, some basic things like making sure that those packing slips are a validation, even in terms of returns. And last but not least, from an operational standpoint, once you've done your order fulfillment, it's really important to know what your restocking looks like. So if you're planning to do a big sale for certain items, you want to know exactly what your restock levels will be so you can send your vendor POs ahead of time and be ready. And by the way, just as an anecdote here, thinking about Rider Shack, when Rider Shack did an automation across their entire back office, they were able to reduce their shipping time by 25%. And they had a crew of, I believe, about 4 or 5 people on their staff. And this is amounting to a one-person savings behind the scenes. And if you're able to automate your inventory, Rider Shack, for example, was able to save over $20,000 a year on out-of-stock orders. So the key to success with automation is not just in thinking about your individual kind of aspects of the business, but how can you bring all of the systems together and automate your entire operation? So as you consider your back office workflows, really, again, map out your workflows, identify the bottlenecks, and start to keep all of the things working well together. Before we jump into tip number 2 for automation, let's talk about another case study, which is Honeybee Gardens. They're a skincare company. They've been selling with BigCommerce as a platform, and behind the scenes, their accounting system was running on QuickBooks Enterprise. What was really challenging for Honeybee Gardens was they had a lot of different systems in their back office, and the biggest sort of next step for them was, how do we expand our product line? What more products can we expand into? What more channels can we sell on? And really, without having strong financial awareness of what's really profitable, which items are the best, and what's performing really well, it was providing them very limited visibility for them to make a really good decision about how to grow their business. So if you're an e-commerce seller today, or a multi-channel seller even, and you're thinking about expanding your operations to different systems, or different sales channels, at this point, you've got to really know your financial details. And I will say, your bank statement is not enough. You cannot fly blind, because just knowing your high-level profitability is not enough. Which brings me to win number 2 for automation. To automate all of your financials so that you can really unearth all of the savings that are hidden in your business. So you might be thinking, I have my bank account, I know what my high-level profitability is. That's the sign of a successful and growing business. The reality is, multi-channel and expansion is not just a luxury that you as an individual seller enjoy. It's now becoming easier and easier for businesses to drop ship items, to create an extended catalog using third party, to buy items in bulk. It's really easy now, especially with storefronts like Shopify, to get up and running quickly and sell online. The key to success is, you've got to be able to take your high-level business financials, go 2 clicks deeper, so you really understand what your revenue looks like, what are your expenses. And as a business owner, I'll share a personal story. When I wake up every morning, we actually have a comprehensive dashboard that I wake up to every morning, and I look at things like, what is our monthly recurring revenue? What kind of costs are we incurring when customers upgrade or downgrade their product? What happens? What kind of customers do we add this month? What customers do we lose this month? What can we do better with our products and our product line? Just as we as a software business have our own KPIs, I would urge every business owner out there to really understand what their KPIs are. Find out what matters to your business, measure it, track it, and really make it move. You must know all of your KPIs. And if you don't know your KPIs, if you think that they're sufficiently sort of adequate just by looking at the revenue that's coming through your Shopify store or your BigCommerce store, I'm afraid that's not enough, because it'll take a lot of fine-tuning and really understanding your business 2 clicks deeper for you to really create that uniqueness in your business that can help you compete and win as the market heats up and the products you're selling become more and more available for other sellers as well. The last thing I'll say about automating financials is, you also want to understand where all of your fees are. So you really need to, and I use the word interrogate because you really do need to interrogate your data. And you want to really understand what your profit margins are, really break down all of the fees that you have across your different channels and break it down by shipping costs. Break down your Amazon fees, your FBA fees, your listing fees. Know all of your fees because that's what it's going to take in order for you to understand and really automate in your sort of financials so that you can fine tune your business. I'm going to take a pause here and answer a couple of questions that we have coming through the webinar. And please feel free to use the webinar slide. There's a little component in the top right corner of your webinar where you should be able to enter questions. We have a few minutes that we can add for questions as well, so please feel free to send those in. And if we're not able to answer them, we'll be sure to write back to you after the webinar closes. One of the questions that's come up from one of our audience members here, John, it looks like, is, well, that's typical. John asks, what features does automated shipping include, and can I create alerts? So, yeah, absolutely. So, it kind of depends on which shipping software you might be using for your business. But when you automate your shipping, the key is, break down your shipping and fulfillment into its key steps, right? So first and foremost, you want to know what your rates are. So it's important that whatever software you're using, you are able to compare the rates for each shipment across different types of carriers and package types, so you know where you might be able to get the most optimal shipping rates. Also, make sure you're using a provider that provides commercial pricing, for example, if you're doing USPS shipping. And once you've got your rates down, the next thing you want to do is identify the carrier. You want to ship that out, create bulk labels, and then print them out in batches. So you're going to automate that part of the workflow. And then make sure that once that shipment occurs, you have a tracking system in place so that your customers are notified that that shipment has occurred, because keeping your customers in the loop is the key. We'll move on to our strategy number 3 and the automation piece. I hope that answered your question, John. And we have a few more questions coming in that I'll try to capture here before our webinar time runs out. Feel free to add any more that you might have. Moving forward, another case study I want to bring up is one for Epic Men's. They're a men's menswear and fashion accessories company. They're actually a multi-channel business, and they're a retailer that was moving from kind of single channel, and they wanted to get into omni-channel. They wanted to really support their growth. And one of the challenges they faced was, how do I get to doing more than one channel? How do I do 5 channels? How can I aggressively grow without actually adding a lot of folks to the business and all the headcount that is kind of associated with that? So aggressive growth plans, but without having a real solid picture of how they're going to separate this business out. How could they list their products and manage a multi-channel business? It was really kind of tough for them to have kind of followed through on their strategy without having all the systems supporting it. So what they did, and this is win number 3, is if you're an e-commerce business today and you're not multi-channel, you're really falling behind. So it's really important that you automate your multi-channel business. The key here is you need to understand how each channel works, because not all channels are created equal. When you consider marketplaces like an Amazon or eBay, a lot of your sales are going to be driven by how well optimized your product listings are and how great your reviews are. There are a whole different set of expectations when it comes to different marketplaces. If you consider kind of an independent sort of artisan marketplace like Etsy, certainly customer reviews matter there as well, but personalization is going to play an important part. People want to know your story on Etsy. People want to understand what your products are all about. Also, as you consider your own online channel, that's where the experience truly must be unique and tailored to your customer. So understand what the customer expectations are. Also know what are all the rules that are governing each of these different channels, because when these channels, when you put all of these channels together, you've got to be able to separate your business based on channel. You need to understand how customer behavior is different. And by moving to multi-channel, automation becomes even more critical, because now you have to be able to accurately track which customer originated on which channel, and accuracy now is key. The key to optimization across your channels is also to know what your audience is, know exactly what their catalog is, and also optimize for seasonality and know your profit margins. We've covered a lot of different topics in this presentation across automation, but this one comes front and center for me, which is you need to know how do you optimize your business for success. Most of the sellers that we work with today start off with a single channel and then eventually are fine-tuning that channel. Now we're looking for new ways to grow, and then new channels emerge. Now, as you look forward to 5+ years from now, channels are going to, the lines between omni-channel, sort of offline and online, are blurring. The lines between different channels, even online, are blurring, because you can now just place an order by going to a social media app. So the world is moving at a really, really rapid pace, and e-commerce is moving really fast. So it's imperative that you automate your entire back office, know how your financials are, and get your multi-channel strategy right. So, and just like Shen Li from Epic Men said, he knew that he had to keep that storefront and back office in sync, because without that business flow working together, it'd be very, very hard for the business to grow rapidly. I have another question here that's come up, and this is a question that's from Shirley. Her question is, how do you actually, let me just parse through that just one moment. Okay, yes, I think I get what Shirley's getting at. So Shirley's question is, when you're doing omni-channel, what are kind of the gotchas here? What should we be looking for when you're dealing with multiple channels? So I could certainly talk to this topic for a long time, but just to keep things really, really simple, for multi-channel selling, the key is, what is your profitability across the different channels? Because when you consider selling on your own store, you have a different set of requirements. You are looking at your own revenue minus your payment fees, minus your costs, and minus your inventory costs. You don't really have that channel fees. In the case of marketplaces, the same product selling to even the same customer, your profit margins are dramatically different, because you're going to have listing fees, you're going to have storage fees. If you use FBA, you're going to have return fees. There's just so much cost associated with the different marketplaces that profitability management is really the challenge. So if there was one thing I could say about multi-channel businesses and what to look for, I would say it's managing your profitability, and making sure that you have a really good handle on it. So I have another question here, and it comes from Jamie. Jamie's question is, what workflows are most important when you're moving from single to omni-channel? I guess, let me see if I can unpackage that a little bit. So Jamie, when you're a single channel seller, you basically have kind of one workflow typically of where the orders originate, how you do the fulfillment, how you notify the customer, how do you restock that item, and how do you kind of close the loop. The moment you move from a single channel to omni-channel or a multi-channel business, now you've got orders coming from multiple places. And that's the first place that, sort of the first gotcha. Because when orders come from different channels, it's important that your operations team, your shipper, whoever's doing the picking, packing, shipping for you, they need to know where the order originated. Because, by the way, when you have folks coming from different channel, you also have different notification systems. So in the case of your own online store, you might have a notification that is triggered directly from a Shopify or a Magento or a BigCommerce store. But then if you have an Amazon store, you actually can't do the notification. You need to update the Amazon order status, and that triggers the notification for you. So the key to that omni-channel strategy is your workflows beginning from the order entry down to the fulfillment. You've got to start tagging every single one of your orders and know which channel they originated from, know what the buyers' kind of expectations are for how quickly they need to be fulfilled, and make sure that entire stack from order fulfillment down to picking, packing, shipping to inventory restocking is really, really well organized. We're coming up on just a minute left here into the webinar. I know there are a few other questions that are coming in here, but just want to remind everyone, we will be answering questions offline. I want to take just 30 seconds to kind of recap for everyone the 3 key wins that we've talked about. So win number 1 was being able to completely automate your order processing, make sure all of your systems are working really, really well together, from order processing, inventory, and shipping. Win number 2 is automate your financials. Make sure that you can find and uncover all of your savings. And win number 3 is automate your multi-channel business. Make sure all of your channels are working really, really well together. So that's all we have to cover today. I welcome you all to our booth at Internet Retailer on June the 5th to the 8th at McCormick Place in Chicago. So if you're in the Midwest or you're a multi-channel retailer that really wants to grow their business, Internet Retailer is the show for you. It's the biggest show for retailers, and I'm really excited to be presenting. Our company, Webgility, also has a booth there. Our booth number is 1513. Please stop by our booth, and as always, feel free to give us a call. You can reach our team here. We've got a panel of experts here on our team who will be more than happy to assist you in automating your entire back office. So please give us a call. Let us know how we can help. I really enjoyed this. And Lauren, thank you so much for hosting. And we look forward to having many more webinars here to talk more about automation. It's a topic I love chatting about.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.